All right, here we go. Overdrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 2. Bryan Hayes, Yo Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. Look at this guy, freshly shaven. If you don't change, there won't be change. Is that how it goes?
3-0. Clean shaven. I decide, let's let it ride. It's playoff time. Tides turn.
Okay.
I said that is enough. That's
very
enough.
reasonable. Very reasonable, because I had someone almost tackle me in here at TSN this afternoon saying, where's the fanny pack? You've got to get the fanny pack back into the rotation. This is where we're at in our lives, where you're shaving and I'm getting accosted about a fanny pack.
Did you wear the fanny pack last night?
No, I did not wear the fanny pack.
Exactly.
And also, people are like, oh, look at you in the building. I was there for game 1 and 2 and the Leafs won those 2 games. Yeah. All right? I hate to break it to you. It has nothing to do with if I'm going to be in the building or if I have a fanny pack that's very stylish and very practical.
I got to be honest with you guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
The fact that we're going to be having this show, and let's be mindful of one thing. The Leafs are up 3-2. If you're a player and you said before the series, if you had told us we'd be up 3-2 going into their building, we'd take it. That's a crock. I just can't believe we're at this point where it's like...
Yes, you can.
I
yes,
can't.
You can. Yes,
I
course
can't
you
because
can.
My big thing with Duthie, we were going back and forth, and we did it on this show as well. We are chipping away, and we are slowly throwing in the garbage the ugly phrase of the leafiest thing ever. And it was 3-0, and to just maybe put the leafiest thing to bed for 10 days minimum while you got to wait till the next series would be to eliminate the Ottawa Senators from the playoffs. And then you give the Sens one where it's like, okay, and then you're taking it back home, and you just can't get it done again. And it's almost like if you were in a real sports and they had 10 TVs that were playing the elimination games of these guys with their record 0-13 or 1-13, whatever it is, it would probably seem like the same game. I got to be honest with you.
It's the exact same performance. You're talking the core four, the exact same performance.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, your beard, your fanny pack, JP playing Major League, Joe from the Bridge sitting on a certain
JP has been taking some strays from Major League.
He has been. But what I'm saying is Joe from the Bridge wearing his jersey, sitting on the right side of the couch and not moving until whistles and all that has zero to do with the outcome. I know fans want to do the point is that team, they didn't do what they needed to do last night. Their star players, which you were relying on, Hayes, I heard you on SC and with Jay and all of that. You nailed it. The top players, which you expected to get them through, didn't have a night. They just flat out. They just didn't have a night.
Did not have anything last night.
But it, no, stop
JP,
that, JP. He's being a hero.
Don't pretend like you're not hearing it. I am noticing so many people trying to force their way into saying, no, I'm totally fine. Everything's okay. Stop it. Stop it.
You're 100% right, and you can speak to this. Actually, I should be able to speak to it too because I've been around for the 9 years as well.
Yes, you've seen it all.
We've seen. This is why people have PTSD from a situation like that, because you lose a couple games, you go, hey, we're still in the driver's seat, feeling pretty good. That was Craig Berube's reaction on the podium last night. Now, he may have walked off that podium and choked somebody out or did something different, away from the public eye. But his messaging is hey, we like where we are. There's some things we need to clean up, and away you go. Now, that's from within the room or from in the coach's room. From the fan base, from where we are in that, completely different, and we're allowed to do that because of where we've been. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Well, and I also think, listen, there's a separation when you talk about this team. The 5 players who have been here forever and then everyone else. Because everything else is turned over. And that is the conversation that was really on display last night. And what is on display moving forward, really beyond just what happens tomorrow night or Game 7 if it gets there or into the second round. And Craig Berube, he tried to swat at that today, and we'll play the audio in just a moment. You can't, because it's not the way things work. In sports is about entertainment, man. It's I would use a blockbuster movie as an analogy. Okay. Right? If a blockbuster bombs, no one walks out and goes, "Hey, the stars were great, but it bombed because of the supporting cast, or the soundtrack wasn't great, or you know what, the cinematography, I would have shot it from a different angle, and I think you could have made $400 or $500 million." Exactly. You make it or break it based on who's on the marquee. It's the same thing in pro sports, and it's no different here. And what was disappointing about last night was that it was similar to game 2, 3, 4, 5. They've all been the same games. Like, they really have.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't notice Ottawa, like, wow, what a performance out of them. They just basically have found their way into the series. To their credit, they haven't panicked. And Allmark had a night last night. And I thought Sanderson was great. I thought Pinto was great last night. He didn't even get on the game sheet. I thought he was outstanding, though. And they just waited and waited and waited and pounced and won. But it's not as if Ottawa, at any point between game 2 and 5, have said, that's it, we've arrived, we're going to punch you out of this. It's a scenario last night where I think you can look at Stolarz and push him aside. I think you can look at a lot of different things, a lot of the turnover players, the head coach, the coaching staff, all of it, and say, you go stand in the corner because we're going to talk about the guys who have been here the longest, because they're the best players and they're the ones clearly with the highest expectations, the most heat, the most pressure. And last night, collectively, the 4 forwards in particular, and we all know who they are, they had the worst game of the series. All 4 of them. All 4 of them had the worst game at the same time.
And the Ottawa Senators, Hayes, like, they understand that they don't have the firepower to get into any kind of track meet with these guys. So they're trying, and they've committed to win a 2-1 hockey game, okay? And they did that last night because they don't want to get into it. They don't have the firepower to score a bunch of goals, get on the power play, and move it around. And people have said to me, Ottawa has done such a great job checking. And I said, you know what? They have. But you know who else is a very good checking team, and they're almost very tough to beat in their home rink? The LA Kings. But do you know who steps up and says, we don't care how good you are defensively. Those 2 animals out in Edmonton, they just get down the ice and they make things happen. They push the pace and they give it to the opponent where they say, nothing you can do can stop us. It's almost like, I don't know, like you would think you would, after all these years and all these attempts, there would be this like urgency where you would just say, we are going to push the pace and we're going to dictate here and we're going to take it to you and overwhelm you. And it's like this nervous energy. It drives me nuts where it's like wading into the game and it's like this slow moving thing. And it's like, haven't you learned that ain't going to work?
Well, or it's that they're incapable of doing it. I mean, at some point, it's got to get to a point where you stop wondering and stop thinking about what the opposition is doing and what the other teammates are doing and what buttons the coach is pushing. I mean, and again, you look at the rest of this series. Could the Leafs win this series? Of course. Should they win this series? Yes. Like, it's still very difficult for a team to win 4 in a row. And Ottawa's very raw still. Like, they're still very young and they're raw. And again, I don't see us. They've adjusted clearly from game 1. I think they've been more disciplined. The special teams have completely flipped. And they've been opportunistic. And Allmark was really good last night. Like, Allmark showed up and he's like, all right, I'm here to play. And you could sense it early in the first period. So a lot of things have broken their way. But this isn't a sleeping giant that has awoken here. This is the sleeping giant is the Maple Leafs and what they're all about in terms of their best players, putting them over the top. And that is what is concerning, I think, if you're a Leaf fan and if you're the Maple Leafs. Like if you're Brendan Shanahan, if you're Brad Treliving. Because again, you could get through Ottawa. I still think they probably will. It's irrelevant if what I think or what I don't think. It doesn't matter what we predict. I can sit here and say I think they're going to win 10-0 tomorrow night. Whatever. Okay, I think they are going to win. But at the end of the day, this is the first round against a team that you had up against the ropes. You still do based on being up 3-2. But it's only going to get tougher is the point. Like Florida's waiting for you.
This is the first round against a wild card opponent.
Exactly. That is very raw, and to their credit, has stayed in the series and fought.
Yes.
And now they're in it. And now I'm sure Ottawa's going home saying, "Listen, they're keenly aware of the history of the Maple Leafs. Like, and if I'm Ottawa, I'm like, let's feed that beast all day, man. Let's talk about 1-13 in elimination games. Let's talk about 0 for 30 on the power play in those 14 games.
That stuff is like mind-numbing. Like, you would think, just going back to the 113, you would think like a goalie alone would have stole 2 or 3 of those. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just seems unheard of.
That's the thing about, like, the coming back from down 3-0. It's happened 5 times in NHL history. It is very improbable. And again, it is still a mountain. They're only halfway up it if you're Ottawa. There's no guarantees. You got to reset, play tomorrow. If you get to Saturday, you got to do it on Saturday. Go talk to the Oilers. They almost got to the summit, and they said, we just don't have it. We can't even get to the top in the Cup final. They couldn't get over the top. Florida found a way to push them off. But it is, in the history of the Stanley Cup playoffs, a statistical anomaly if a team is down 3-0 and they get back and they actually win the series. I had somebody send me this. Anthony sent me. He pumped into ChatGPT. What are the odds, and I'm taking this as fact because, of course, it's AI, and why would it not be? What are the odds that this combination takes place? 0 for 30 on the power play and 1 win in 14 series clinching games. The odds that ChatGPT pumped out, 1 in 4.9 million. So if you think it's a statistical anomaly that a team could come back from down 3-0, it's way crazier that a team could go 1 in 13 and 0 for 30 on the power play during those 14 games. Like what the Leafs have established in these 14 games and then tag on the power play ineptitude is there are scientists that would look at that, their heads would explode. Goodwill Hunting would say, we can't write this into the script. Are you nuts? Hollywood wouldn't accept this. People would storm out of the theater. So that is what we're talking about here. The Leafs continue to create these other chapters where you're like, I can't believe this. Because if you lose because Ullmark makes 50 saves, that's one thing. But it's a back and forth, or your goalie's bad, and you're like, man, he just didn't have the night.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great hockey game. Let's call it what it is. Like, if you're Ottawa, you don't care. You're like, it's your building, Game 5, we're up against the ropes. We're just here to play and get out of here with a win.
Dude,
they
it was
did
a
that.
1995 Jersey
There was
Devil
nothing
special
interesting about that game.
No.
Nothing.
But like I said, that's what Ottawa wants. They want a low event, and they want to shut it down. But it's non-negotiable. You got to push through and create your own noise. How are you going to do that? I don't know. I don't go out there and play anymore. But you're good enough players, and your other players are. How come Nate McKinnon scores seems like every playoff game?
Austin Matthews has 2 goals in his last 15 playoff games.
Yeah.
That's just an absurd statistic.
It's a staggering stat. The other thing, too, guys, is if you're the special teams, like games 1 and 2, you pretty much did whatever you wanted, right? The minute that you give up a shorty, now all of a sudden, like that 5-man power play, like this is the one thing you said last night. It wasn't a high event game. But here's the thing. Teams adjust. When you play the same team every night, you go, this is what they're trying to do. This is what they want to do.
Man, Willie was out for just a cruise last night.
88 didn't look.
Willie was not interested. That's a horrible look, man. They start like the still shot of where it started. And credit to Cousins because he has not done really anything in the series.
Yeah,
and he turned the lights out last night.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. But the point being the adjustments, okay, from Ottawa going, we're going to get killed here if we don't kill off a penalty, if we don't score on the power play. You're right, 5-on-5, I think there was like, let's keep it low event, let's see what we can do. Special teams have been the difference. So now every penalty's under the microscope, and they were earned last night. The penalties, I'm not going to argue about the refs. The penalties were
pretty even both ways. Yeah, exactly. You like them or don't. It's pretty even.
Exactly. Go ahead. But in the end, the adjustments and Stolarz, Ullmark didn't have as goods the first couple games. He's kind of come on, looked really sharp. And Stolarz, it's not like he hasn't been great. It just now all of a sudden seeing eye shot, one draw, like the goal, the Thomas Chabot goal, which is the game winner.
Yeah.
That's a lost draw in your own zone. Marner gets picked out on the way.
He's got to fight through that check,
but
man.
You know what? Picks and like the Leafs are
smart play, crafty by Giroux.
It's a veteran, little play.
Yep.
And then it doesn't get blocked, which the Leafs block a lot of shots. So Stolarz doesn't track it. But guess what was happening in games 1 and 2 and 3? The Leafs were doing that and throwing it toward the net, and Ullmark wasn't finding it. So it is small adjustments, and the margin in the playoffs, regardless of where you ended up at the end of the season, if you're first place or wild card, the margins are thin. And if you don't fight through those margins, we see what happens. You come up on the wrong side of it. They got an opportunity to change that tomorrow, but Ottawa's feeling it as well because they've
I think Ottawa is going to be absolutely jazzed up tomorrow night.
Listen,
you want to talk about
as they should be.
They are going to come out what you would think the Maple Leafs would have done last night. And it can't be the crowd, no crowd. Like, was the crowd not there? And
well, okay. Let's address the crowd stuff because I always take issue with Leaf fans, non-Leaf fans taking runs at the crowd without any acknowledgement of what this fan base has been put through for decades. Like, the Red Sox got theirs, they're out. The Cubs got theirs, they're out. The Maple Leafs are on an island in terms of historical teams that just have not been able to get over the top and the heartbreak. And yes, there was a lot of anxiety in the building last night. It was almost, I would say the game turned, we just showed it, the kind of semi 2-on-1 by Matthews where he misses the net. That was one, people were waiting. They're like, here he goes, he's chugging, this is in, misses the net. Then Marner was in alone in the second period, and Allmark made a really good stop on him.
Yeah.
And then obviously Lorentz in the Perron play, which was a brilliant play by Perron to backtrack and stop him at the net. And then it's 1-0, and all of a sudden, this is the Lorentz. So it was 1-0 at this point when Lorentz was going for it. But after that, the Perron play and it's 1-0, the fans clearly were like, I know where this is going. That's what I sensed. Is that it was 1-0. Matthews misses the net on a 2-on-1. Marner doesn't score in close. Willie's just out for a skate. And you're like, I've seen this movie, and I'm not going to be subjected to, yelling and screaming and go Leafs going it when these guys aren't gonna get it done and aren't gonna pull their weight. And I get it if you're looking at a young, like if you're in Ottawa and you're negative towards Ottawa, and they've had a tough run. They haven't been in the playoffs in a long time. But you can't look at Brady Tkachuk or Pinto or Sanderson and say, you guys have had enough time to prove who you are. They've played 5 playoff games. Like Ottawa, it's just exuberance right now. Leaf fans, it's been 9 years, man.
Dude, these guys, like William Nylander, somebody posted a pic of him today. I looked at the age. He's 28 years old.
Yeah, these guys.
These guys are not far from saying we got to start shipping guys out because they're getting old.
They're veteran guys, man. This is like the Leaf fans. I will never blame a Leaf fan. And I honestly look at anyone that is ridiculing, like, how could you not be louder? Are you serious? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I get it if you said that about people in Vegas, or Panther fans or Lightning fans or Colorado fans. You're like, man, you guys are quick to turn on a team that wins all the time. I just don't see it that way. I don't. And I can totally understand why even the most optimistic Leaf fan is like, whew, man, I don't know where this is going. I don't know where it's going.
Well, you talked about the hill decline for the Sens. And yes, they're only halfway up the hill. I think the way you described it. They win tomorrow night. I'll tell you what.
You got plans for Saturday?
I
can't
even
believe they might play
Where's
Saturday.
the underpants?
Exactly.
Camera?
Like it's Wednesday, and I'm thinking there's a chance that I might be going into work on Saturday. And I would say, I don't even care what FanDuel or anyone would have that. Like, Ottawa would have to be favored heading back to Toronto for a Game 7.
That's a very interesting hypothetical. What are the legitimate betting odds? Not emotional, not, hey, I can't believe this. And
like, what would the bookmakers,
Joe from the bridge.
What would the bookmakers go, what do we, what's the sharp
I'm just going on emotionally.
Question.
I don't know if the players could emotionally, like, from what they've been through and what they do in these moments, I just don't know how they could go out there and play under that. Like, thinking,
you're right.
We
with
have
their
this.
history
God, it would be. I can't even think about that.
And
I can't even believe, and I'm so pissed because I was taking Friday off, and now I'm not. And now I probably have to go in Saturday, which is more insane.
Well,
Let the game play out tomorrow.
Let's cross
first.
that bridge before we get there.
But the thing being is, you look at it, the one thing that the Sens have done, Game 1 was nerves, whatever. They ran out of the building.
Yes.
It was 6-2. They were too horny on offensively trying to run guys, and they took too many penalties, all of that type of stuff. From games 2 to 5, they've settled in. And, you talk about the lack of experience, but the one thing that I would challenge on this, Thomas Chabot's played 500 games in the NHL. He's 28 years old. Like, yes, he doesn't have a wealth of playoff experience. He's still an NHL veteran that is learning and knows, like, his adjustment would be a lot quicker than somebody who's, I'll give you an example. When people compare the Ottawa Senators to, like, the Leafs that lost to Washington, those guys were 19. Like Austin Matthews and Willie and Mitch, and those were legitimate 19-year-olds. Like Ottawa, Brady's 25. Tim
Right.
Stützle's 23. So they've got lots of NHL experience. They don't have a wealth of playoff experience. So as they're settling into that, you can see their confidence growing. And let's be honest, the minute you start getting saves from the goaltender, it just looks a little bit different.
I'm telling you, that guy's dangerous. You did a lot of the almost all the games,
Yes.
Jamie, and you saw the streaks up and down. And when that guy gets on a heater, watch out. So he's a massive factor and a massive problem. And by the way, JP just got in my ear and said Ottawa's favored in Game 6.
Listen, you're going home. You got some momentum. The amazing thing is we're looking up on the screen on TSN2. The series odds just keep dropping. You know what I mean? Like on Monday, it was like Leafs to win the series minus 900 or something. And now they're still heavily favored, minus 385, plus 300 for Ottawa. Those are still significant, odds both ways. But listen, that is the one thing. Put the Leafs aside, which is impossible to do, and put their history aside and all that kind of stuff. It is very difficult because you're right about your assessment, Noodles, and you're right about comparing the 2017 Leafs to this Sens team. Those were all literally rookies. Now, they had vets on that team. Like, they had Kadri and Bozak, and they had guys.
You're right.
But it's very different in terms of their star players and these Maple Leafs that we're still talking about in terms of how raw they were back then. But it is very difficult to win 4 games in a row in the playoffs.
100%.
Like, that's still a fact, that there is still, as much as I think Ottawa, they should feel like, okay, we might be in the driver's seat even though we're down 3-2. Going home, rambunctious, fired up. That's not a guarantee. Like, there's no guarantee. Maybe they show up tomorrow and they start thinking, oh, it's ours, and it flips the wrong way. And all of a sudden they're on their heels instead of on their toes. Or Allmark gives up a couple of, bad goals quick, and you're like, uh-oh, like we're in one here. It's still very difficult to do what Ottawa is trying to do. But what they have accomplished here is they've lifted their torso off the mat. Like that's what it is. It's the Undertaker meme. They're halfway up. And because of who you're playing, I think it would be very different. If you're playing Vegas, if you're playing Tampa, if you're playing Florida, if you're playing other teams, it would have a very different complexion.
Yes.
But it's not.
That's a good point.
Because you're playing the Leafs.
It's your opponent and the history and all of that stuff that comes into it. You're right. If this was a different team, they're playing and it's like, oh, okay, they've, it's funny because I'll throw this out there. The Edmonton Oilers are up 3-2. The Toronto Maple Leafs are up 3-2, and the fan bases are at complete different sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, you're right.
Am I right?
No, you're totally right.
They're both the exact same. In the playoff, you look on paper, it's like 3-3, 3-2, 3-2. So that's what I think people are trying to give context to. It's like, hey, you still have 2 kicks at the cat here. You still have all of that, but it's just a complete different side of the spectrum. Now, that being said, the first 2 games in Edmonton were awful. And all of the narrative, what we were talking about, was being directed at, hey, Stu Skinner and
Bouchard and Nurse
and all of these guys. And you saw, like, Edmonton.
Man, they were good last night.
Well,
they dominated last night, man.
They've had, I know you love analytics, so they've had 63 high danger chances in the last 2 games.
Dude, I watched the second period.
It
was like it was men against boys. The shots, I think, at one time were like 33-11.
Yeah.
And
Kemper was unreal.
They were just cycling and making all these plays. Like I said, the LA Kings are unbelievable defensively. Defensively. They hardly lost at home this year. In Edmonton, when they just decided that they're going to change the pace of the game. And that's what it is. It's like pacing. It's like they're wandering around out there in the ice. And it's like, I don't care how good. My old man used to tell me this when I was in the NHL. It doesn't matter how good. You can't be wandering around out there.
Well,
what are you, Mario, where the puck's just going to find you? You got to go and make it happen. And I hope they make it happen, because one thing I got to live with, you guys, when I was in junior, our team went to the finals against Detroit, and there's this one guy on our team in Guelph, and what he does when he drinks beers with a bunch of guys, he always says this. Yeah, we made it to the finals, and our best players never showed up in the finals. O-Dog and Bert, they were terrible. And me and Todd Bertuzzi, he loves telling people this, and these stories filter back to me. And for years, it would just infuriate me. I'm like, that guy's a D-bag. I hate that guy. But now that I'm almost 50 years old, I'm like, I'd be telling the same story. He's right.
Well,
He's right.
It's funny.
And it drives you insane. That's why I always talk, like, make it happen, because it sucks when you're a 50-year-old man drinking coffee on your porch at 4 a.m. thinking about what could have been. I just hope they find a way to be better and get it done in Game 6.
Well, and that's why I wanted to bring it back to the league. Like Craig Berube said last night when he left at the podium, we'll look at it and we're going to try and adjust. Like, does he do something? You know, Doogie just put in the group
Nick
chat.
Robertson.
Yeah,
Nick
Robertson
Robertson
for Pacioretty's the answer.
But I said it to Duthie last night. This is not about Nick Robertson.
No.
Could he go out there and score a goal? But that is number 10 to 12 on the priority list.
Right.
Like, you just mentioned Nylander. You said he was out there. Like, you were in the building. And it looked like he was.
It was an awful game.
How is that
Willie.
possible in
Really
a closeout game?
Well,
and he's one of those guys where people have always talked about. He's one of the ones that show up. How do you go out for a skate in an elimination game in front of your home fans?
And honestly, Berube was trying. Like, they went from Holmberg to McMahon to Domi to Yarncroke. 4 different wingers got to try to poke at Willie and Tavares last night. Like, he put 4 different guys over the course of 60 minutes to poke at him and say, come on, let's go. And they just never got going. All right, we'll come back and play the Berube clip on the court for compared to the team and what he wants to see moving forward and what we'd like to hear from these guys between now and tomorrow night. We've got the Habs in action. We've got the Jets in action tonight. You got the Battle of Florida going on, the Jays and Sox game 2 tonight. Man, the Jays are Harry Dunn. Like, just go look at Lloyd. Go look at the Leafs.
You tweeted that.
Well, I knew, obviously. I knew they'd given up 5 home runs. And
I know. I saw it, too.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, they're down 7-0, and Bowden Francis is a pitching machine down there, floating in just matzo balls for these guys to launch. Yeah. And they got torched last night. And what is that? 8 of 9 they've lost. They only scored 2 runs. Vladdy hit a home run. Anyway, more on that. And some guy just sent in an extended roster of the underpant cam, and there's a lot more rows. We're going to have to put that up and discuss. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. We've got a lot to get into in role play level of concern. In about an hour, Bill Belichick has issued a statement today.
God, he's turned into. I used to think of that guy as just the greatest coach ever. He's flat out a loser now. I'm sorry, he's a loser.
Well, I don't know what's
this
going
behavior.
on.
Some guy had a great tweet today. He's like, Bill Belichick is one more awkward girlfriend story away from everyone forgetting what we originally remembered him for.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, it's to the point where you're like, who is this guy? That guy won how many championships? Like, he was.
Dude,
he was the
UNC,
guy. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to survive.
I'm like, you need to be quiet, man. We just want to see you on the football field with a hoodie that's ripped and a hat and glasses. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
This other garbage needs to stop.
That's crazy,
man. But where do you think
it's
the motivation comes from to always be in the media? His 24-year-old girlfriend.
That's the problem. He's trying to, like, appease her, but it's not going well because it really reflects poorly on him.
Dude, and 24-year-old girlfriend when you're 73, man, makes you do some stupid-ass stuff.
Yeah, Billy B is, and he's going down with the ship, Bill Belichick, man.
Shoot, that guy was doing yoga poses on the beach.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, what happened to Bill Belichick?
I could tell you what happened to Bill Belichick.
Yes. We all know what's happened to Bill Belichick.
All know what happened to Bill Belichick.
And you know what? In the end, do what you do. The problem is it's crossed over. It's crossed over into his personal life.
It's
sorry,
awkward,
to his
man.
business life. Sorry,
it's a
that's
strange
the
story,
problem
man.
that I
It's the
have.
only way I can describe it. He's turned into a loser. Sorry, Bill.
Yeah, it's a really
You're a loser.
weird kind of losery kind of vibe. And
Yeah.
then there's Tyrese Haliburton's dad getting into it with Giannis last night, which I'm at the game and I'm watching this and I'm waiting to go. I'm ice level. I'm waiting to do SportsCenter hits and I'm going through my phone. I'm like, who is that guy? Like forehead to forehead with Giannis.
I know.
And then I'm like, wait a minute. I think, is that a player's dad? And it's Haliburton's dad mocking Giannis.
Yeah.
And then Giannis is forehead to forehead with the guy.
Yeah.
Just the most absurd evening I think I've ever seen.
I don't know. Man.
It's a wild scene, man. And
what happened to the dad though? Like, did they toss him? Would he cause the team to get fined?
No,
Like,
I don't
Jamie,
think so.
it's just one. You want to talk about one of the major factors in how pro sports has changed. It was a known thing that if you're a parent, family member, you are to go to attend the sporting event and go home after, and you'll meet somebody at a restaurant or something. You're not seen. You're not getting hammered. You're not
Yes.
visible at all.
Yeah.
But I guess these guys just don't care.
Well,
like, imagine
yeah.
someone's dad on the court, forehead to forehead with Giannis.
The forehead to forehead, I think, was after
Yes,
they
it
had,
was
like,
kinda-
they had like a come to Jesus
They allowed-
moment. Like they allowed them to squash it out. The other moment was him yelling at him and Giannis going, "Who are you?"
Well,
like he's staring at him.
You could
going,
tell Giannis was like doing the math on like, do I just stuff this guy in a pretzel right now? And he's doing them. He's like, what's that going to cost me? $1 million fine, probably
Yeah.
50 games. Because he's if you look at his face, he's like, I think I might throw this guy into a figure four and just
Yeah.
make him tap out right here at the stadium.
Yeah.
It's just a wild scene. And then, you got the defensive coordinator down in Atlanta. He's been fined $100,000 because his kid was prank calling Shedeur
Yeah, I
Sanders.
told you, I would've fired the guy.
$100,000 though. The defensive coordinator's got to pay $100,000 because his kid's a moron.
Dude, no kidding.
Yes.
But I told you,
I
I would have
understand.
fired the coach. You can't have your kid having access to an iPad that has those numbers on it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well-
as dumb as the kid is, and as dumb as the kid is for videotaping it, you're responsible for all of it.
It's
So,
not nuclear codes, though. I mean, it's
Right.
stupid. It's dumb. He shouldn't have done it. And I'm sure the dad's like, I can't believe he did it, and I can't even imagine how
Trust
icy
me,
that
bud, I'm
relationship
not the only
is.
one that would have fired the guy. A lot of people would have just said you're fired.
All right, I'm just saying. I think personally, I think it's bad. It's awkward and everything. I don't think it's the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of sports. But he may still get fired because it may just be something where they can't get it back on the rails. They may just not be able to get the respect of everyone back.
That's true.
And the kid kicking around and all that. Okay, I want to play Craig Berube today because Craig knows what's going on. Everyone knows what's going on. The Leafs, they try their hardest to say, well, we push the white noise. They don't. They can't. It's impossible in 2025 to truly do that. It's impossible in a market like this. And Berube was asked about, the offense and specifically the core four and the best players. Here's how he responded to that.
It's on everybody, the team. Yeah, I get it. It's all I hear around here is core, the core four. But it's on everybody, the team. We're a team, and, it's on the whole team, not just four guys.
What do you guys make of that?
Well, he's sick of hearing about the core four, but I mean, he's coach and he's human. And if you were down there, he saw the same thing you did. It's like this isn't about. This could be about other players on the team. I mean, this could be about Scotty Lawton having a goal and assist in the first period tomorrow night, and they win 3-1. It could be about Anthony Stolar stealing the show. Those are options. Like, that's the one thing that does happen in these scenarios. It's like, core four, not out there, but why isn't it a Scotty Lawton goal and assist in the first period? Why isn't it a Yarncroke banging one in? That seems to, like, Morgan Riley getting 3 points and always, like, you know what I mean? It's always, like, compounded where it's like, it is the team, the core four and the guys, but it's those guys that are put in those positions And it's why you get paid and why you have the expectation all the time, because you're put in situations on the power play, matchups, offensive zone faceoffs, and that's what you're supposed to do. It's great that Matthias Janmark got a goal last night, but the reason that the Edmonton Oilers have taken control of the series is because of three guys, Bouchard, Draisaitl, and McDavid. They have driven the bus offensively. They've been getting it done.
Yeah. No, it's true. And you do need support cast. I got to be honest, though, maybe I'm the other way. I loved what Berube said. Like, I think what he's doing is trying to get out in front of it for his team. Now he might think differently, as we all are. We're voicing our opinion right now as to, the core four, the top players, you always win on the backs of the top players. Yes, the support guys kick in here or there, but your top players have to be your top players. But I think Berube's trying to get out in front of it and go, you guys, that's all I hear, core. We're a team. He's just trying to keep it unified. Because the minute he opens the door, go, yeah, they can be better. Well, guess what? Now we all pile on. To me, but behind closed doors, he might walk back into that office to his, to Mark Savard and Mike Van Ryn and go, those guys got to be better. This is why. And so I think he's playing the game, and that's the wrong wording, but Berube's getting out in front of it going, you can talk about it, I'm not talking about it, we're a team. Like, that's what I got out of that.
And I think it's also his first time with this group in the playoffs. You can't come in day one of camp and say, clean slate, nothing in the past matters, and then get into, the first time where you're kind of getting a little bit ornery and say, actually, I remember what happened in that Columbus game 5. Like, you can't reference that stuff. And they have done their best. Brad Treliving has done his best. Berube has done his best to try to eradicate the term core four. The problem is it's too big to fail. It's as synonymous with this team as any other slogan I can think of in professional sports.
Well, I'll blame the Quizmaster because he came up with it, and I've hated it ever since I heard it the first time.
Really?
Well, I was not aware of that history, but it is.
He's claiming it. That's what. Is he claiming it, or did he? Come up with
we created Robidas Island. Right, and everyone else took that. 100% we did. 100% we did. That's ours.
Let's get into all the stuff that's
ours,
created
man.
and people have stolen from
Well, the
us.
underpants cam, that's definitely
that one. Yes, that one I think is indisputable. No one wants that. Everyone's like, hey, you can have that thing. But
I know, but
I think in terms of Berube's approach, I understand it. I think when you're up 3-2, again, you've got to be composed, man. You have to.
Yes.
You can't. They're not wrong in terms of what they all said after the game. There are ebbs and flows.
Yes.
There's ups and downs of the playoffs. That is 100% accurate. And you can't get caught up in the emotional roller coaster that is going to happen with the fans, the media, and the approach to the sport and approach to the players.
But Hayes,
let me finish one thought. Berube might be different. I would like to hear a different approach from the core four in terms of how they are going to walk into Game 6 tomorrow night.
Dude, what do you think I've just been saying? It's like you can be composed.
But say it. Say it. I don't know why that matters to me, but it does.
I know. I said it last night. It was like John Tavares, playoff loss after playoff, possible clinching game. He'd come out and he'd be like, our execution and this and that and our strategic stuff. And I was like, execution? What are you talking about, man? Mm-hmm. And all this lingo, mumbo jumbo. I'm like, just say that you're going to be better. We're all going to be better, and it's going to start with me.
Doesn't it have to be one guy? Doesn't it have to be Matthews?
Well,
it has to be Matthews. It amazed me
because Austin Matthews got wheeled out last night, and he's like, execution and...
Yeah,
there
some
were
cue cards, man. There were cue cards, and I thought he was composed. I don't think he was overly rattled or anything.
And I don't think you don't have to be Dougie Gilmore or Darcy Tucker and jump into the bench or Mark Messier and say we will win the next game.
I'd like to see that personally. I understand you don't have
that
to.
That would be the King Daddy Topper if you want to just go out there and say we're going to win the next one. Just say, you know what? I didn't think our best guys were very good tonight, but I can only guarantee you one damn thing. And that's we're going to be the best players on the ice in Ottawa, and we'll see where the chips fall.
Yes. That's what Haliburton said.
And it almost puts you under the gun where you have to be good. But their approach on the ice, it's like you said, composure. Be composed. That's great. They've done a great job of eliminating crazy offensive zone chances from the Sens. But if there's no energy and excitement, you don't have a chance to succeed. It's like you just can't go out there and be like, oh, let's see if it might happen tonight. Go and attack. Like, this guy, the best player, is 6'4". He's a monster. just start running around and buzzing around out there. That's what McJesus does. Obviously, he does unbelievable things with the puck, but he's moving and shaking out there. And 29 is exactly the same way. And trust me, the LA Kings are doing everything in their power for them not to touch the puck. But they say, too bad, tough, you know what, we're getting it and we're making things happen. You got to change the approach. After all these times, you'd be amazed that they haven't done that yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe they're wired differently. I don't know what it is. Like you don't you talk about McKinnon and McCarr or whoever. In the end, they've got to do it. Until they do it, that's where the question marks lie. You said something earlier. Have you seen Brendan Shanahan once?
I have not seen him at any
Usually
point in the arena, anywhere. Yeah, you're right. I haven't seen him all year. Honestly, I don't have a visual of him at any point this season.
I've seen a couple shots. He's in a luxury box with other executives.
Okay, because I haven't. Usually they'll flash. Remember, he had that spot down, left of the goalie, kind of in the corner. He had his spot, or sitting with Tree, or whatever. I haven't seen him once. And we haven't heard from him. Nothing. Not that you do. It's just. I feel in past years he's been a lot more visible. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, that's valid. I mean, I don't recall. The last time I saw him. And I've been down there the last few games. Not that he's up in the press box or anything, but
not that he has to. I'm not
him.
saying that he needs to come out or anything. It's just it's a random thing I was thinking about. It's like I haven't seen. Usually they'll pan to Tree or pan to Steve Stais and Pooley. I haven't seen Shanny. It's a random thing. Usually you see he's
especially on the road. On the road, and I'm sure he'll be there tomorrow night, and I'm sure they will if they pan to the GM's box. I mean, I would presume he'd be up there. I don't know. I mean, last night, Anlauer was in the box, I believe. I thought I saw Anlauer with Stais and Poulin.
Yeah, he was.
That's the owner. If anyone could get a suite, it would be the owner that could be like, "Hey, I want to sit over here," or "Maybe can you hook me up?" He's up there in the trenches.
Yeah,
it's an interesting thought. I don't know. I'd love to pick his brain, man. That's an interesting question. If you could get one exclusive truce serum, who would you talk to? I think it probably would be Shanahan because he's
What
here.
do you mean, right now in the middle of the playoffs?
Yeah, I
Win,
guess right now, but I guess if they win or they lose, just at any point.
Mine's Berube because he's been in we talked yesterday for. It felt like 2 hours about the Vancouver Canucks and Rick Tocchet. Rick Tocchet has seen everything, top to bottom, in that organization, right, in the last couple of years, because he's had to live it. That's where I would love to get, in a candid moment, a guy like Chief and go, what have you seen? What's the – because he's so – as much as – I think it's been fascinating, and I think he's been brilliant at it because we joked about it. Mark Savard jumping on the bench 10 minutes into the series because they're executing power play goals, and Craig looking at him going, what are you doing? Same thing. They're losing a couple games. He's just sitting there. He's very composed. You don't see him as this – he's very threatening looking.
Oh,
he called terrifying. For a 4-minute penalty last night, and his bent fingers. I was laughing.
He's terrifying.
He just, he looked like, he's very intimidating. But he doesn't. The way he carries himself is just poised, and it's impressive. Regardless, win loss, matter of fact.
You're right, though. He would never admit it publicly unless there was private truce serum. He's got to read on one of these guys that he doesn't like. You got to believe it. Every coach has it, that there's something he sees or smells out that he's like, I don't like where that's going, and that may have been there during the season. It may have been during this playoff run, but, you're never going to get that, obviously, publicly or on the record. And anyway, listen, we got Game 6 tomorrow night. We've got a few games in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. We got role play level of concern. Darren Dreger coming up today. Eddie Olchuk. Little pucks and ponies. We got the Derby coming up this Saturday, man. Eddie's got to give us a read on a couple of horses. And the Jays are back in action tonight, night 2 of that series, with the Red Sox just laying a beating on the Blue Jays last night. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, we're still reading this one. TSN 1050 is giving away tickets to every Leafs playoff home game. And all you have to do is listen to us on the iHeart Radio app for your chance to win them. To enter, download the iHeart Radio app, create an account, listen to TSN 1050 for at least 15 minutes straight. You can enter twice per day So listen to First Up between 6 and 10 a.m. and Overdrive between 4 and 7 p.m. And the more times you listen, the better your chances of winning. There you go. We'll see. Maybe there's more tickets to be handed out for Saturday night. Maybe not. Maybe the Leafs win tomorrow night. Maybe Florida wins tonight and decides that's enough. We're done with this series.
What's your gut? What do you think happens on Thursday night?
I think it feels like whoever wins on Thursday night wins the series.
No, but who do you think wins on Thursday night?
I will say the Leafs will win on Thursday night. I will say the Maple Leafs will put together a very similar game. I don't think it's going to be a blow. I think it'll be the same game. I think it'll be like 2-2 going into the third, 1-1 going into the third. I could see overtime again. I see a very similar script. I don't think there's any reason to deviate from that. And I'll say that the Leafs get the bounce, but it will be an unsung hero that does it.
Wow,
like Simone Bonway,
very,
like Max Domi. Yes. Callie Yarncroke, Scott Lawton.
Detailed.
Very detailed. That's my read tomorrow night. You guys go ahead. You want to step up?
I honestly, I have zero feel for it. I obviously don't feel confident. I don't feel good.
The only thing I had a feel for was Brett Howden having a game. That
Your
was
boy, Brett Howden. I'm watching
we gotta get into it. I called it.
I called
yesterday.
a shot. St. Albert. He's like, I love this Brett Howden, St. Albert guy. He's going to have a big one tonight. That scores the OT winner.
Yeah.
Get
that sound.
That's plucking one, I'll tell you.
I couldn't believe it. I sent it Noodles at town. I'm like, I don't know if he's still up watching, but
1
I'm
o'clock
sitting
in the morning last night. I was watching it. I'm like,
yeah. Like, what a snipe, man. What a call. But that was an all-time. Like, because if you said, hey, I think Eichel's got one tonight, I'm like, all right. Yeah, fine. Kaprizov.
Devils having a giant moose when they're up 3.
We got to get into it.
We'll get into it into the next hour.
Yeah.
Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.